You'll have to excuse the wheel, because this is the best I can do with the setup I've got. Again, I really need to sort out my own vehicle so I can have a more appropriate setup for these long records. But I'm on the way back from Rock UK, having done some work experience with them. And it's left me with, well, a number of questions. First of all, I want to address something that I was hoping to do on the way to Rock UK, but didn't figure out the setup properly, let alone the timings. And that was essentially what I'm doing at the moment in terms of Facebook, in terms of the warrior side of Warrior Pilgrim. Because the warrior is a fighter, leading the charge, standing in the way of those that would cause problems for all. Especially when it comes to people trying to break down the kingdom of God. The danger of that is, particularly on Facebook, is that you can just get into a shouting match and all you'll achieve is a lot of anger and a lot of adrenaline. It's more cathartic than it is productive. And that can lead to hours of just shouting, blethering, and you lose track of many things. It's super easy to get stuck to your phone and just shouting at people across the world because they're not thinking the same as you do. It's far too easy, in fact. And that's sort of why I'm grateful to have the opportunities to get away from that. My main job, driving everywhere, means I have to remain focused on what I'm doing then and there, rather than what else is happening around me. Just focus on the job, focus on the road, focus on the customer, focus on the job that I'll have in hand soon. Rock UK was similar in a way. It gave me a chance to step away from it, as for the most part there wasn't a lot of signal on site, and when you're working with children, phones are a big no-no. Perfectly reasonable. So it gives you a chance to unplug and just focus on what you have in front of you. Be it the activity, be it the discussion you're having with a child or something like that. So I suppose the general ramble would have been along those lines if I'd gotten a chance to do it yesterday morning, at time recording. Or, essentially summing up, to say that just because something gives you that buzz, the adrenaline, the rush, the battle passions, that doesn't mean you're achieving anything. You're just throwing things out there. Granted, some people are being very thick, very stubborn, to the point where you actually start to wonder whether their views on Christianity being the end of thinking is completely backwards, because they themselves are not trying to think. Certainly give them a simple puzzle, a simple thing to consider, they just give up. One person even said, "You're just deflecting by asking me a question." And yes, that sort of thing will go on, that sort of rant. So it's a good thing, I think, that I ended up focusing more on the drive than I did that video. questions has Rock UK left me to think about? Well, let's start with how it began, how I came to find it. I found it on Facebook, fairly easy, and how it came about. So I decided to apply for the job, apply for the instructor training program, the ITP. If I had to answer the question why, well, the way I told it to them was I wanted to get back into outdoor activities, get back into swing of things, and also have a chance to share my faith more openly. But that was all sort of backdoor stuff, if you will. Very upfront and personal, not really the deep things. On a professional level, it would allow me to expand my skills, give me more of a chance to apply for things elsewhere, give me a chance to get into activities I've never done before, or expand on activities I've done before, but in a different manner. On a personal level, it'll allow me to get out there, meet new people, open up my horizons, and chat a bit more about things related to my faith. Expand my ability to discuss and address certain topics, whilst also just going back and forth in beautiful ways. If that makes any sense. In terms of what it would mean for my family, it would also give me some more fun activities to do with my niece and nephew. Instead of just doing archery with them, instead of just taking them on bushcraft tours, giving them weapons, teaching them to use them, or if they want to, take them on horse riding trips, take their horse riding lessons. I would be able to give them some bigger experiences. Like, say, hopefully, rock climbing, hill walking. Give them a chance to go out on the lake in a canoe, a kayak, or a coracle. Or a qualified instructor right next door to them, so they wouldn't have to worry about someone they don't know pulling them out of the water. They know it'll be their uncle doing that. But now comes the interesting one. How will this help me faith-wise? How will it help me spiritually? This is one that I had to think hard about, because even as Warrior Pilgrim, even as what I do on YouTube and now on Facebook, I generally don't bring that up in public. I generally don't bring it up with most people outside of anything, really. So despite what I say about opening up our faith, I am in my own way closeted with it. In a way, when I went to Rock UK, I went there in full armour, but with no weapons. In a manner of being in a shell, but not ready to fight. Bunkering down before being armed. I didn't even have a chance to do my girding meditations, as I think of them. Donning my sword, bow and axe given to me spiritually by the pastors Cassandra and Benjamin. So I suppose in a way, I need to learn to step forward with less armour, but with more weapons. Bring things into the open world. And expose myself to attack a bit more. When I do that on YouTube or Facebook, it's always with my guard up. I'm always out. I'm in a duel. I'm not in a skirmish. I suppose it is the next step in my spiritual journey. My first step being when I became an altar server at my church. That was many years ago. I can remember the time I wanted to do it, and I honestly didn't know what I was on about at the time. I was really excited about it. And I stuck with it for about 12, 13 years. So the next step in my spiritual journey was when I was brought back to Christ by my amazing friends at the Penny Share Scheme. Next step, probably when I became a crucifer and took a step up in responsibilities during church services. The following step was when I gave my life to Jesus at Soul Survivor in terms of trust, so I could go out into Australia. That was a very interesting situation because that wasn't me being brash or expecting, well, in a way I was expecting something big to happen, something big to change, but it reminded me that not only is God always there and doesn't have to do a big shift in order to show himself in a different way, because he's the same today as he was yesterday. Only our perception of him changes. It's also that just because we expect something different to be there doesn't mean it's going to be meaningful for us, if that makes any sense. Was there a step before this one? I suppose that would be when I took on Warrior Pilgrim. When I stepped up and became the Warrior Pilgrim. I was writing essays whilst I was in Australia to try and bring up my channel again. But I decided he needed a change, not to be the Christian philosopher, but to be something different, something more. And that's why I came up with Warrior Pilgrim. And since when I was in Melbourne, I was girded with my spiritual weapons, my sword, my axe, and my crossbow. And in a way was also given similar weapons when I moved to Scotland. I have a feeling those will be interesting things to bring up. The tricky thing is where to bring it up, and that is where I think this next step of my journey comes in. How do I bring those things up? As I said at the start of the video, people have said that Christianity is an end of thinking, which was laughably proven wrong by people who just refuse to try and learn anything. So I'm definitely going to send this to Rock UK, because this is in a way an update to my cover letter, but also a thank you. Because the spirituality, the opportunities to share with each other is, I think, the next step that I need to start taking. As a taxi driver, I do technically have a lot of opportunities to do that whilst driving around, but there's always the catch that you can find someone who's not receptive to that sort of input, that sort of information, which is why I tend to do my stuff on YouTube, because if people want to see it, they can find it. If people are discussing stuff, all I have to do is simply put one of my videos on their comments. It's a very simple, very quick, very easy method of having a pre-built argument presentable. Whilst I don't mean to become a pastor, I want to be far more active than that. I suppose I want the chance to ease back, and instead of being just a frontline warrior leading the charge, showing off my skills and knowledge, I want to be a teacher, a chieftain of sorts, if you will. Taking that chance to step back and become that spiritual leader is going to be beneficial to my spiritual growth, but also the spiritual growth of many people. It may not hurt to cast out about my channel as well, mention that, and say, yeah, this is something that you can look over for more information. But that's not what I'm planning on doing, no. is useful to have, but it's also something more, if you will. I will be using this as a reference for further applications to places, particularly when it comes to the spiritual side of things. So once again, to the people at Whitehall Park, Rock UK, thank you. Thank you for giving me this chance, this opportunity to see what you guys do, live your life even for a short time, learn from you guys, and give myself the chance to ask those questions to myself. So thank you. And for those, and also anyone who's continuing to watch, thank you for watching. Stay safe, stay humble, and God be with you, my friends.